Hello and welcome to Newsweek South Asia, your one-stop destination for in-depth analysis of security challenges, regional conflicts, and the evolving threat of terrorism. Let's take a look at the headlines first. Pakistan Army Chief issues nuclear threat from US soil, raising global alarm. India shot down 5 Pakistani fighter jets, 1 military aircraft in Operation Sindoor, Air Force Chief says. And Kulgam's 11-day anti-terror operation ends, 2 soldiers martyred. Nuclear blackmail on American soil. That's the charge being leveled at Pakistan Army Chief Asim Munir after a shocking threat made in Florida. At a private dinner hosted in his honor, Munir warned of destroying Indian dams with 10 missiles, linking a water dispute to nuclear war. But the roots of this outburst lie in Pakistan's decades-old playbook: state-sponsored terrorism, global intimidation, and military rule that thrives on chaos. This week on Newsweek South Asia, we report on how a dinner in Tampa became a warning shot for the entire world.
Pakistan's Army Chief Asim Munir was in Tampa, Florida, attending events surrounding the retirement ceremony of the CENTCOM commander. What should have been a routine diplomatic engagement instead turned into an international flashpoint. But instead of a diplomatic exchange, the evening turned into an international security crisis. Munir warned that India's suspension of parts of the Indus Waters Treaty could lead to starvation for millions in Pakistan and threatened that any Indian dam on the Indus River would be destroyed with 10 missiles. Declaring that Pakistan had no shortage of missiles, Munir linked a bilateral water dispute directly to the possibility of a regional and even global nuclear conflict. The Indus Waters Treaty, signed in 1960 and brokered by the World Bank, is one of the few agreements that has survived multiple wars between the two nuclear-armed neighbors. But India's recent move to place it in abeyance was a direct response to Pakistan's decades of cross-border terrorism, from the 2001 Parliament attack to the 2008 Mumbai attacks to the 2019 Pulwama bombing and the recent Pahalgam massacre that led to the killings of 26 innocent lives. By bringing nuclear weapons into this dispute, Munir has further weaponized Pakistan's terror-driven hostility towards India.
I find it a very irresponsible statement, and I find it also, I beg your pardon for using this language for a general, but I find it stupid. You have an issue with India. Of course, you have a nuclear deterrence with India, which is for you, for Pakistan, the great equalizer. But at the same time, if you're threatening half of the world, which has nothing to do with it, I find that stupid from his perspective, because I think Pakistan is in need of more friends in the world instead of enemies. By threatening half of the world, I think he's doing his country a big disfavor. And a general who is all-powerful, who's a field marshal, I think he should use much more responsible language, especially when he is on the soil of a third country.
India's Ministry of External Affairs responded sharply, calling the remarks nuclear sabre-rattling and the stock in trade of Islamabad. Spokesperson Randir Jaiswal said the comments reflect the irresponsibility inherent in Pakistan's leadership and warned that such rhetoric only heightens global concern over nuclear command and control in a state where the military is in hand-in-glove with terrorist groups. That hand-in-glove relationship is no secret. Pakistan's military and its intelligence arm, the ISI, have for decades nurtured and deployed terror outfits, Lashkar-e-Taiba, Jaish-e-Mohammed and the Haqqani network as strategic assets. These groups have killed thousands across India and Afghanistan while enjoying safe havens inside Pakistan. Even Al-Qaeda leader Osama bin Laden was found living undisturbed in Abbottabad, just meters away from Pakistan's premier military academy.
If you look at the recent statements of, for example, Mr. Bilawal Bhutto Zardari, he has accepted this, that this has been part of Pakistan's, formation since the Afghan Jihad. And yes, in the Afghan Jihad, Pakistan supported Mujahideen at that time on the behest of the West. And afterwards, Pakistan started nurturing these terrorists in order to use it for its policy of strategic depth against India and against Afghanistan. And that Osama bin Laden was found in Abbottabad, I think that is now almost 13-14 years ago. Even then, the US has had a reasonably good relationship with Pakistan, because let's not forget, in this region, Pakistan is the US's proxy. And the US knew for a very long time that Pakistan was playing a double game. Pakistan was using funds of the US in order to nurture those terrorists which were fulfilling its policy of strategic depth against Afghanistan and against India. And at the same time, it was using those funds in order to counter those terrorists which at some point of time became anti-state of Pakistan.
Munir's Florida threat has also caused ripples in Washington. Michael Rubin, a former Pentagon official, compared his language to that of ISIS and Osama bin Laden.
And India is right to stand up for its rights.
He argued that Pakistan's status as a major non-NATO ally should be revoked and that the country should instead be considered for designation as a state sponsor of terrorism, a move that could freeze military aid and impose sweeping sanctions.
Pakistan's threats on American soil are completely unacceptable. Pakistan is raising questions in many people's minds about whether it can fulfill the responsibilities of being a state, or whether the time has come for it to end. In many ways, Pakistan's rhetoric, the field marshal's rhetoric, is reminiscent of what we've heard from the Islamic State and from Osama bin Laden. This should not stand. There is absolutely no reason anymore why the United States should consider Pakistan a major non-NATO ally. In fact, Pakistan may become the first major non-NATO ally to become listed as a state sponsor of terrorism on the same day.
Pakistan's generals have a long history of using brinkmanship to divert attention from domestic crisis, whether it's political instability, economic collapse, or international isolation over their terror sponsorship. Analysts say this latest episode is a dangerous escalation of that playbook where desperation drives nuclear blackmail. It also signals to the world that Pakistan's nuclear arsenal is not in the hands of prudent statesmen, but of military leaders who have openly embraced terror groups as partners. In recent years, Pakistan's military has faced growing global criticism from FATF scrutiny over terror financing to UN reports linking Pakistani soil to jihadist recruitment. Munir's outburst in Florida only reinforces the image of a nuclear-armed state whose greatest export is instability.
In a dramatic escalation of South Asia's volatile security landscape, India's Air Force has delivered its most decisive blow to Pakistan in decades, downing 5 fighter jets and a large military aircraft during Operation Sindoor in May. These strikes, launched in retaliation for a deadly terror attack in Jammu and Kashmir, have significantly weakened Pakistan's air capabilities and intensified global focus on Islamabad's long-standing ties to internationally designated terrorist groups. A report.
In an unprecedented display of air power, the Indian Air Force has confirmed shooting down 5 Pakistani fighter jets and 1 large military aircraft during the May 7-10 clashes. The announcement came from Air Chief Marshal A.P. Singh at a defense event in India's Bengaluru city. Most of the kills were achieved using India's newly inducted S-400 surface-to-air missile system, which proved to be a game changer in neutralizing Pakistan's aerial threat before it could strike.
We have at least 5 fighters confirmed kills and 1 large aircraft, which could be either an Elint aircraft or an NWSA aircraft, which was taken on at a distance of about 300 kilometers. This is the actually largest ever recorded surface-to-air kill that we can talk about.
The confrontation was triggered by Pahalgam terror attack in April, which left 26 civilians dead, India's deadliest civilian attack since the 2008 Mumbai massacre. New Delhi has blamed the Pakistan-backed Resistance Front, a proxy of Lashkar-e-Taiba, for the killings. The US has since designated TRF as a foreign terrorist organization, citing its direct links to Pakistan's military intelligence establishment. Operation Sindoor saw Indian fighter jets conduct precision strikes deep inside Pakistan and Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, eliminating over 100 terrorists and decimating command, control centers, radar systems and airfields. The Indian Air Force shared a video showing a glimpse of an attack on terror camps in Pakistan and Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir during Operation Sindoor, which was launched in May to avenge the Pahalgam attack. It also featured clips and pictures that showed the decimated terror camps.
Their aircraft tried to penetrate our defenses. Our air defense systems have done a wonderful job. The S-400 system, which we had recently bought, has been a game changer. The range of that system has really kept their aircraft away from their weapons like those long-range glide bombs that they have. They've not been able to use any one of those because they've not been able to penetrate the system.
The strikes targeted 9 Pakistani airfields, including Muridke, Chaklala, Sargodha and Jacobabad, destroying hangars housing F-16s, UAVs and AEW&C aircraft. Multiple radar installations and 2 surface-to-air missile systems were also wiped out, leaving Pakistan's air defense severely crippled. The operation has been hailed as a strategic and psychological blow to Pakistan's military. Former Jammu and Kashmir DGP SP Wade praised the IAF's preparedness and precision, saying it brought the Pakistan to its knees within hours.
It was precision attack of the Indian Armed Forces and particularly Air Force. How S-400 was used, how the precision attacks were executed on the airfields. 9 of their airfields were destroyed. So I think command and control centers were destroyed. Also, a lot of radar systems were destroyed. So it's a huge achievement. Within a matter of few hours, India brought Pakistan to its knees. I think it's a huge achievement for the Indian Armed Forces.
Pakistan has so far refused to comment on the scale of its losses, but wreckage of Pakistani unmanned aerial vehicles, drones and missiles recovered in Indian territory tells its own story. The debris are now under forensic analysis by the Defense Research and Development Organization to study the origin, capabilities and weaknesses of Pakistan's weapon systems.
There are a large number of UAVs, drones. There are some of their missiles which have fallen in our territory. We have recovered a lot of wreckage from these, which now is being studied so that we can make out what did they do, where were they launched from, what route did they follow, what kind of system do they have, whether they have, what generation those systems belong to, what all features do they have. So that study is going on, and it is going on even in coordination with DRDO. If required, we will also take some other industries' help for that.
For decades, Pakistan has faced international censure for harboring and enabling armed groups that destabilize South Asia. Operation Sindoor underscores a shifting strategic reality. India is increasingly willing to project power across borders to neutralize threat at source. As Islamabad reels from destruction of its air assets and faces growing global isolation over its terror sponsorship, New Delhi's military and diplomatic offensive appears ever more resolute than ever.
In Pakistan-occupied Gilgit-Baltistan, the people's patience is running out. In Hunza, a sit-in protest by the Pak-China Traders Alliance Action Committee has been going on for nearly 20 days, with traders refusing to end their agitation until Islamabad accepts their two-point charter of demands. The movement has choked the only land trade route between Pakistan and China, stranding goods and passengers for days. A stark reminder of how Islamabad's policies are strangling POGB's economy.
From Hunza Valley to the Sost border, frustration with Pakistan's inept governance is spilling into the streets. Political, social and religious delegations from across Pakistan-occupied Gilgit-Baltistan are joining the sit-in, accusing Islamabad of imposing illegal taxes on the already struggling border economy. The protest has become more than an economic demand. It's a challenge to decades of exploitation and neglect by the Pakistani regime.
गिलगित बल्तिस्तान का कोई भी दुकानदार जो भी आइटम लेके आता है वो उसके ऊपर टैक्स देता है। ठीक, अब मैं आपको क्या क्या गिनूं? जो चीजें हमें चाइना से लेके आना चाहिए वो हम लाहौर से खरीद के अपने दुकानों में बेचते हैं। वो हमें लाहौर से सस्ता पड़ता है। वो क्यों? कि यहाँ के ताजिर, यहाँ के दुकानदार वो चाइना जाके वहाँ से छोटे दुकानों से ख़रीदारी करते हैं। उनको एक तो वहाँ पे महंगा पड़ता है और यहाँ पे आके 100% टैक्स उनके ऊपर लगता है।
Locals say Islamabad's taxation policy has turned legitimate commerce into a losing battle. By overtaxing goods at the Sost border and offering no development in return, Pakistan has crippled small traders while protecting its own corrupt networks. In a region already denied constitutional rights, such economic suffocation is seen as deliberate policy to keep POGB dependent and powerless.
इस बॉर्डर की वजह से गिलगित बल्तिस्तान की पहचान है। इस बॉर्डर के ऊपर गिलगित बल्तिस्तान के हजारों बेरोजगार का रोजगार चलता है। हुंजा के 60% नौजवानों का जो रोजगार है वो इस बॉर्डर के ऊपर है, अगर तुम्हें पता नहीं है तो। मेरी आपसे गुजारिश है कि आइंदा ट्रेड के ऊपर ना हमने आपको कोई नुमाइंदगी दी है, ना आप तुम्हें कुछ पता है। तुम्हें बदमाशी आता है, हमें पता है, जो ड्राईपोर्ट पे तुम करते थे, जब ड्राईपोर्ट के क्लर्क थे उस वक्त तुम बदमाशियां करते थे, वो तुम्हें आता है। खुदारा लोगों को गुमराह ना करे, गिलगित बल्तिस्तान के लोगों को उनका आईनी हक लेने दे और इंशाअल्लाह ताला अपने कानून के अंदर रह के, आईन के अंदर रह के जो हमारा जायज़ मुतालबा है, जो गिलगित बल्तिस्तान के वासियों के ऊपर जो गैर कानूनी टैक्सेस लग रहा है, उसके खिलाफ हम खड़े हैं। हम खड़े रहेंगे जब तक इसका नफाज उठाया नहीं जाता।
With Islamabad unmoved, the standoff is deepening. Hunza's traders are holding the line, not just for their livelihoods, but for the dignity of Pakistan-occupied Gilgit-Baltistan. Each passing day of the blockade is a rebuke to a regime accused of looting resources, ignoring rights, and treating the people of POGB as second-class citizens in their own land.
In Jammu and Kashmir's Gulgam district, an 11-day-long counter-terror operation, one of the most prolonged in recent years, has ended without capturing the main targets. Security forces believe heavily armed Pakistani terrorists managed to slip away after fierce gunfights claimed the lives of 2 Indian Army soldiers. The incident once again underscores Pakistan's relentless cross-border terror campaign and its growing use of battle-hardened infiltrators trained for jungle warfare. A report.
The massive joint operation, codenamed Operation Akhal, was launched on August 1 after intelligence indicated the presence of a large group of terrorists in the Akhal forest belt of Jammu and Kashmir's Kulgam. Initial contact resulted in the killing of one local terrorist, but as the encounter pushed deeper into the treacherous alpine terrain, the situation changed. Security forces, including army troops, special forces, CRPF units and Jammu and Kashmir police, faced sustained gunfire, explosions and even drone-dropped explosives from terrorists entrenched in the dense forests. Sources indicate that at least 5 Pakistani terrorists were believed to be hiding in the area, exploiting the cover of thick vegetation and high ridges to evade cordons. The terrorists trained across the border deliberately chose the remote forest terrain over urban hideouts, making the operation slow, risky and resource heavy. 2 soldiers, Lance Naik Pritpal Singh and Sepoy Harminder Singh, both from the Sikh Light Infantry 19 Rashtriya Rifles, were killed in action. 10 other personnel sustained injuries in the fierce firefights.
कुलगाम इनकाउंटर अपने जो आखिरी मरहले पे वो हो गया है अब इट इज इन लो की ऑपरेशन विच विल ebb away and parties are there. We are quite alert and attentive. If we found anything else, so we will respond to things.
Since 2021, Pakistan has been pushing a new breed of terrorists into Jammu and Kashmir. Men battle-hardened in Afghanistan and trained extensively in jungle and mountain warfare. Unlike their predecessors who often hid in populated villages, these infiltrators take positions in remote ridges and dense forests, forcing security forces into prolonged, resource-intensive engagements. Such terrain allows them to survive longer, inflict casualties and in cases like Akhal, slip away despite a heavy security dragnet. The Akhal operation saw hundreds of troops involved in cordon and search efforts for nearly 2 weeks. Helicopters, drones, quadcopters and paratrooper teams were deployed, but after the death of 2 soldiers on August 9, firing stopped, and searching over the next 2 days yielded no further contact, leading officials to believe that Pakistani infiltrators broke the cordon and under cover of darkness and rugged terrain.
Pakistan has adopted a new strategy in the last few years, and that is sending its trained and armed terrorists through the dense jungles, as traversing through jungles becomes difficult to be detected, which can aid the terrorists in carrying out the heinous terrorist attacks for which they have been designated by the Pakistani Army and the ISI. Where the Indian Army has deployed all forms of modern technology to trace and track these Pakistani terrorists to prevent them from causing destruction and mayhem in Jammu and Kashmir.
Pakistan's continued export of terror in Jammu and Kashmir remains a major destabilizing factor in the region. Despite international pressure, terror training camps along the line of control remain active. Operations like Akhal highlight the need for stronger cross-border countermeasures, as Pakistan's evolving terror playbook increasingly relies on exploiting terrain, technology and international silence to prolong its proxy war against India.
And with that, we come to the end of this edition of Newsweek South Asia. We'll be back next week with more news, views and analysis from the subcontinent. Meanwhile, do keep writing to us at nwsa@anin.com. This is Shivangi Mishra signing off on behalf of the entire team of Newsweek South Asia. Goodbye and take care.